Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 731 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Monday, September 8th, 2025. And it is a gorgeous day here at the Beaver Lodge with bright blue sky, not a wisp of cloud anywhere. And now I can see sunshine. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corbin Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. DAMFAM, how is your mental health doing this morning? For those who are listening on audio, normally we start the show at about 7 a.m. It is now 8:40 a.m. because this entire time I have been having extreme tech difficulties. And if you are wondering about the sound quality, it is because we are completely MacGyvering it today, doing the show via the phone and hoping that we can do the video via the computer, because for some reason the computer is not picking up my microphone today, even though it picked it up quite fine on Friday, and I have done absolutely nothing since. So it should be working, but it is not. Apparently, it was a full moon last night, so maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, it's been... I'm being tested today. I've been being tested the last few days, but I'm being particularly tested today. I am in good spirits, as you can see, although I'm a little tense at the moment. Hopefully, I will breathe and relax as the show goes through. But yeah, it's been a weird last few days. I'm also, unfortunately, dealing with an outbreak of, this is personal information, folliculitis that started somehow late last week. So all of Friday after the show spent at the hospital because my skin started to erupt. I thought I was having an allergic reaction, but then noticed that these weren't hives, these were something completely different, and they are literally all over my body and itchy as hell. They were starting to appear on my face. Fortunately, I think that those are down because it would have been very, very not interesting to look at, but I do have them all over my body, and I am trying my best not to scratch the treatment that they gave me is working, but it is taking time. But yeah, uh, lots of weird things going on. So yeah, it has not been as restful a weekend as I had hoped, unfortunately. And I'm coming into the show today with some frustrations and not having slept well as well, because uh, itchiness never ever stops and kind of makes it hard to fall asleep. So you have a very tired and tested beaver with you this morning, but hopefully we will have a good show nonetheless. Let's go through the magic monitor and see who is with us today. We have Kids and Cubs, Kit Elaine here, Kit Saucy, Kit Grace, Kit Uncover with Beaver Dad Joke here. What do Pierre Poilièvre and a hollow log have in common? Both look sturdy on the outside, but the beavers know they're empty inside. Ooh, ouch. And there was another one on a previous take that was pretty good, and I wish I could remember it because it provoked a big chuckle here at this end. And I did read it into the show, but we had no audio, so no one could hear it. Now I don't remember it. Let's see who else we have. We have Kit Linda M with us. Kit Saucy, not sure if I mentioned before. Kit Mayhem, good morning to you. Love, love, love that handle. But yes, just smile and wave like the queen that I am. We have Miss here saying hello. We have Kit Chris, who I see has just who's celebrating being a VIP member for 5 months, saying good morning and sending us good wishes. Yes, thank you so much for the wishes that Mercury retrograde leaves my microphone alone. We have Kit Miss with us. Good morning, and to the whole family. Kit Mohan as well. And yeah, let's see, who else do we have in the chat with us? We have Kit Christian with us. Good morning to you. We have I probably lost a lot of the audience this morning, but hopefully people in other time zones, given that we had a later start, might be able to join us today. So we might get some new friends to say hello to. Kit PNC Bio is here. Kit Nona Carol, good morning to both of you. Kit Cat McC03 is here, and so is Kit Bucky. Thank you so much for being patient and waiting for us. We have Kit, oh, Miss here says member for 12 months. Yay, for a full year. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Thank you. That means the world. Who else do we have here in the chat? Just looking through, and Kit Cat with us as well. There you go. All right, kids and cubs, we have a show for you today. We hope that everything else will go well. All right. The big news, of course, well, there's lots of big news, but the first bit of news that I want to deal with before going in is that we lost a very, very big member of our Canadian family over the past few days. Arguably, the best goaltender in human history, Mr. Ken Dryden, who had wonderful careers. He had a first act, a second act, in which, in both, he made absolute incredible contributions to the nation. So, according to CTV News here, the death of Montreal Canadiens legend Ken Dryden resonated in political circles on Saturday, where the former NHL great left his mark as a long-standing member of Parliament and former Liberal cabinet minister. The Montreal Canadiens organization announced Dryden's death shortly after 12:30 a.m. Saturday. He died Friday at the age of 78 following a battle with cancer. Dryden left the Toronto Maple Leafs organization to run federally in 2004 for the Liberal Party of Canada, elected in the Toronto riding of York Centre. He was named Minister of Social Development in former Prime Minister Paul Martin's cabinet. His former Chief of Staff tells the Canadian press that his curiosity and his ease with others helped him navigate the political world. Quote, a lot of people would have commented that he seemed to be a fish out of water as an MP, but I'm starting to think it was perhaps the water that was different, and not the fish so much, said Mark Watton. He was genuinely interested in everyone he met, including his colleagues around the cabinet table, his staff, his colleagues in Parliament, and the advocates or constituents or others he would come across. It was that insatiable curiosity exhibited by Dryden that made him stand out, Watton said. Quote, even though he was most passionate about the social policy matters that were in front of him as Minister of Social Development, he was genuinely curious about everything else around the cabinet table, Watton said. Dryden held on to his seat in Toronto York's centre riding in 2006 when the Liberals were ousted, and he made a bid for the open Liberal leadership with Martin's departure, ultimately losing. Lise Jolicoeur, a former press secretary in Ottawa who would later go on to work in Dryden's leadership bid, recalled two instances where his humanity and decency stood out during his interactions with her. At one time during the Martin government, a colleague mentioned Dryden wanted to speak to her after question period. She had been undergoing colon cancer treatments at the time. And I was like, what in God's name does Ken Dryden want to talk to me about personally, right? Like, this was odd for a cabinet minister to ask a press secretary for a chat, Jolicoeur recalled. He came to ask her specifically about her cancer fight. Quote, the fact that he took the time was just, it just tells you that kind of person that he is. He's a busy man. He was in politics. He was trying to get the childcare deal done. There's a lot of things going on. But he took the time and noticed me and took the time to talk to me about it, which I found very telling of the man. Jolicoeur would go on to serve as press secretary for Dryden's leadership bid, where she ended up fighting ovarian cancer during the campaign. As he crisscrossed the country during his bid, he made sure to make time to visit her in the hospital during an Ottawa stop. It was just Dryden as he was. Quote, in every conversation you had with the man, it was always about you. You're talking to this hero, Canadian legend, but he never made you feel that way. He always wanted to know about you, Jolicoeur said. Dryden won his federal seat again in 2008, but lost in 2011 to the Conservatives. Prime Minister Mark Carney paid tribute to Dryden, quote, a Canadian hockey legend and Hall of Famer, public servant, and inspiration. His return to university at the height of his playing career taught the importance of balance in his life. His post-hockey career demonstrated the value of public service, Carney said. Few Canadians have given more or stood taller for our country. Ken Dryden was Big Canada, and he was Best Canada, Carney added. Former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that as a Canadiens fan, he grew up in awe of Dryden and had a chance to get to know him both personally and professionally. Quote, his commitment to social justice, not just in theory but in practice, as exemplified by his early work on childcare, defined for many, including me, what constituted leadership through service, Trudeau wrote on X. Pablo Rodriguez, a former Montreal Liberal MP elected the same year as Dryden, remembered Dryden as an exceptional, deeply human individual. Quote, Ken was a giant at all levels, Rodriguez, currently the leader of the Liberal Party of Quebec, said in an interview. He was a giant on the ice, but also a giant physically, like he was 6'4", the type of person you don't want to be behind in a picture. But he was so kind, and there to help caucus members and to listen to you. Roman Baber, who had represented York Centre in the House of Commons since 2025, extended his condolences to Dryden's loved ones, calling him a remarkable Canadian. Intergovernmental Affairs Minister Dominique LeBlanc recalled how the legendary netminder and hockey icon became his caucus colleague and cabinet minister 30 years later, championing policies such as learning and childcare. Quote, I will also never forget the moments when he rose to speak in the House of Commons, sitting at the desk in front of me, LeBlanc said on X. His iconic reputation, impressive physical stature, booming voice, thoughtful ideas, and kind personality allowed him to dominate that arena as well. In Quebec and Montreal, where Dryden was a local legend, Quebec Premier François Legault also paid tribute. Quote, like millions of Quebecers, I grew up admiring Ken Dryden, Legault wrote on X. 6 times Stanley Cup champion with the Habs. What an achievement. Author, MP, minister. He marked our history and an entire generation. Even the leader of the Bloc Québécois, Yves-François Blanchet, had nothing but elogious comments for Ken Dryden, saying in French, Toute une génération de Québécois a grandi en promettant tout pour veiller un peu plus tard le samedi soir et voir si souvent les glorieux être sauvés par les génies de Ken Dryden, athlète et gentilhomme. Elle retrouve désormais Guy Lafleur pour se conter des souvenirs de chambre des joueurs, mais ne serait pas oublié ici-bas pour autant. Mes condoléances à ses familles et ses proches. What's translated means an entire generation of Québécois grew up promising everything in order to stay up just a little later on Saturday night to see if Les Glorieux, which is the Montreal Canadiens, would be saved by the genius of Ken Dryden, athlete and gentleman. He now joins Guy Lafleur to tell each other stories from the locker room, but will not be forgotten down here. Our condolences to his family and dear ones. So, and then, of course, Mark Carney said, deeply saddened to learn of the passing of the Honorable Ken Dryden, a Canadian hockey legend and Hall of Famer, public servant and inspiration. He was a 6-time Stanley Cup champion, 5-time Vezina Trophy winner. For those who don't follow hockey, that's the annual award for the best goaltender in the league. Minister of Social Development and dedicated parliamentarian. Ken Dryden was the reason I became a goalie, although I never mastered his ability to lean on his stick, let alone keep the puck out of the net. His return to university at the height of his playing career taught the importance of balance in life. His post-hockey career demonstrated the value of public service. Few Canadians have given more or stood taller for our country. Ken, and as we mentioned in the quote, Ken Dryden was big Canada, and he was best Canada. Rest in peace. Now, of course, a lot of that is about Ken Dryden's second act as an MP when, again, as Minister of Social Services, he's the one that negotiated the first time around all the deals with the provinces and territories for us to be able to have a national daycare program, which, if you remember history-wise, the NDP killed between the time we had all the agreements and the time that the program could actually be established to send us into an election, which the Liberals lost, the Conservatives won, and when we had a decade of Conservative rule and childcare got delayed for a decade and then was promised again by the Trudeau government, and during that entire time, the NDP kept on gaslighting Canadians that Liberals keep on promising childcare but never delivered, never mentioning that they're the ones that killed it when we actually were about to have it and delayed us having it by well over a decade, and all the economic benefits that come from that also delayed for over a decade. And that I believe was the beginning of the current downslide of the NDP, which now has only 7 seats. They killed the program that they kept on saying that they wanted because politics, partisanship. So yeah, they choose party over policy, and then tried to blame the party that tried to bring it in for not getting it done. But aside from that, as we mentioned, hockey player, goaltender, one of the best, if not the best, and according to TSN, as we need to talk about his contribution to Canada in sport as well. Ken Dryden, the Hall of Fame goaltender whose long resume in and out of hockey included 6 Stanley Cup victories and helping backstop Canada's generation-defining victory at the 1972 Summit Series, died Friday at the age of 78 after a battle with cancer. A key member of the Montréal Canadiens' 1970s dynasty, Dryden's career in the spotlight was only just getting started when he retired from the game, and while at the top of his own game in his early 30s. A lawyer, author, politician, and NHL executive, he would go on to leave an indelible mark across large swaths of wider Canadian society. Born August 8, 1947 in Hamilton, Ontario, Dryden grew up in a Toronto suburb with his parents, brother, and sister. Selected by the Boston Bruins with the 14th pick in the 1964 NHL draft before trade to Montreal, Dryden played U.S. college hockey at Cornell University and eventually made his Canadiens debut in March 1971. He snatched the crease from veteran Roger Vachon that spring and led the original 6 franchise to the Cup, along with securing the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. Dryden then won the Calder Trophy as NHL Rookie of the Year in 1971-72, but Montreal lost in the first round that postseason. He split the crease with Tony Esposito 5 months later in the 1972 Summit Series, a slugfest between Canada and the Soviet Union that became a metaphor for the West's struggle against communism at the height of the Cold War. Dryden detailed his version of events in the series, What I Remember, What It Felt Like, What It Feels Like Now, published in 2022. Quote, I don't remember flying to Montreal. I don't remember the day of the game. I don't remember the dressing room, he wrote of Game 1. All I remember is the feeling that kept building and building, growing and growing. It's what happens before Stanley Cup Series, before a Stanley Cup final, but not like this. It built to where it couldn't build anymore, grew to where it had no place left to grow, then it built and grew some more. After losing the opener at the Montreal Forum and Game 4 in Vancouver, Dryden rebounded to pick up a 3-2 decision in a must-win Game 6 in Moscow. Canada went on to defeat the Soviets 4-3 in Game 7 with Esposito. Dryden was back in net for Game 8 when Paul Henderson scored in the final minute to clinch a memorable 6-5 victory and set off wild celebrations an ocean away, and also creating a memory that has endured ever since, and probably etching a key moment in Canadian history and identity. Quote, I feel the history of that tournament, the legacy of that team, just as strongly as all Canadian fans do. Sorry, as all Canadian fans do, not Canadians, the hockey team. Dryden told the Canadian press in a 2022 interview, it never goes away. It's kind of like a good wine, I guess. Actually, the legacy of it grows. Dryden hoisted the Stanley Cup with the Canadiens in 1973 and 4 straight times between 1976 and 1979 as part of Montreal's juggernauts that included fellow greats Guy Lafleur, Serge Savard, and Larry Robinson. It would appear, based on what I've read, that the time that he left his career to go to school to study law, the Montreal Canadiens didn't win the Stanley Cup, and then he came back, and then they started winning the Stanley Cup again. Just goes to show how instrumental he was. The 5-time Vezina Trophy winner as the NHL's top goaltender described a single week at the end of the 1978-79 season in his book, quote, The Game, published in 1983. Quote, when a game gets close to me or threatens to get close, my conscious mind goes blank, Dryden wrote. I feel nothing, I hear nothing, my eyes watch the puck, my body moves like a goalie moves, like I move. I don't tell it to move or how to move or where, I don't know it's moving, I don't feel it move. Yet it moves. And when my eyes watch the puck, I see things I don't know I'm seeing. Known for resting his blocker and glove hands on top of his stick in a relaxed manner that became one of hockey's most recognizable poses, the 6'4" goaltender retired at just 31 in 1979. Dryden went on to pursue a career in law. He articled at a Toronto firm while sitting out the 1973-74 season after previously earning a degree at Montreal's McGill University. Inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1983, he amassed a record of 258 wins, 57 losses, and 74 ties, I'm guessing. Or I'm not sure if the second number is ties. But I'm going to say 258 wins, 57 losses, and 74 ties with a .922 save percentage, 2.24 goals against average, and 46 shutouts in just over 7 NHL campaigns, and went an eye-popping 80 wins and 32 losses in the playoffs. Dryden's first foray into writing after he hung up his skates and placed his stick down for a final time was The Game. He would go on to pen several more books, including a biography of his Canadiens coach, Scotty Bowman. Dryden served as president of the Toronto Maple Leafs from 1997 through 2004, a stretch accented by trips to the Eastern Conference Final in both 1999 and 2002, before resigning to enter politics. He ran for the federal Liberals in 2004, was named Minister of Social Development in Prime Minister Paul Martin's cabinet. Paul ministers. Dryden, who also taught at various universities across Canada, held on to his seat in Toronto's York Centre, writing in 2006 when the Liberals were ousted, and again in 2008, but lost in 2011. He would continue to write with The Series, his final work, a book that aimed to bring Canadians inside the players' world in 1972 as they faced the Soviets. Quote, the only way to do it would be as if to put them there, to literally put them there in that moment, Dryden said some 50 years later. And the moment, of course, isn't just the moment. It's the lead-in moments up to that. And so what would have been inside us as players? What would have been inside us as 22 million Canadians at that particular moment that made us react the way we did? And to generate the kind of vehement and vivid memories that have come from it. Ken Dryden was an exceptional athlete, but he was also an exceptional man. Behind the mask, he was larger than life. We mourn today not only the loss of the cornerstone of one of hockey's greatest dynasties, but also a family man, a thoughtful citizen, and a gentleman who deeply impacted our lives and communities across generations. He was one of the true legends that helped shape this club into what it is today, said Jeff Molson, owner and president of the Montreal Canadiens. Quote, Ken embodied the best of everything the Montreal Canadiens are about, and his legacy within our society transcends our sport. Dryden is survived by his wife Linda and their 2 children. There you have it, kids and cubs. A moment to celebrate an actual legend of Canadian sport and someone who just gave to his country over and over again, right? Law, hockey, an MP, just constant, constantly just putting Canada forward and being a great ambassador, because we often say this on our show, right? Our athletes are often some of the best ambassadors that we have. And hold on, somebody's trying to call me here on the phone that I'm using to make the show, so I'm just going to decline. There we go. And whoops. There we go. And there for you, kids and cubs, the image in his prime here of Mr. Mr. Ken Dryden, sharing that with you. But yeah, someone who definitely put Canada first in many ways. And, you know, like I said, our athletes are some of our best ambassadors. And like I said, after stopping being an athlete, that sense of ambassadorship, he never relinquished. So I am very, uh, it's a huge loss. It's a huge loss. Our country is definitely the poorer for the fact that he is no longer among us. However, um, it does give us a wonderful opportunity to remember him, and I have a feeling that a lot of people are reliving the 1972 and all those Stanley Cups in their minds at the moment. And who knows, maybe very soon on TV, TSN and whatnot, there'll be some shows about the 72 series, either that they've played before and they'll replay them, or maybe they'll replay that Game 8 for us to be able to watch again, or something like that, in honor of this man. He certainly deserves at least that. And I don't know what other honors there will be for him once arrangements start being made for his funeral. He is definitely the type of person, given all his contributions in various fields, and given that he had 2 very successful acts to his life in which he made great contributions to the nation. It certainly would not surprise me. And he's definitely one of these people that I believe would be deserving of having some higher honors, like a flag at half-mast or anything like that. I don't know if anything like that is being arranged like this, or a place where he will be exposed, and that people will be able to come and line up and give some final greetings or sign a book of condolences or something. But he is definitely someone of the stature that would warrant that. And I hope, unless, of course, his family wants something more discreet and reserved, I do hope that all the honors possible would be extended to him, considering all he has done for the nation. All right, kids and cubs. We have a Kit Bucky here saying, I read Dryden's The Game back in the day. I might pick it up again. Yeah, actually, that's another good idea. Actually, yeah. Pick up one of his books and take some time to read it. Get into his head, see what it was like from his perspective. Absolutely. That is a very good suggestion. Kit Carol He was a legend in sport and in life. Yeah, that's the way to do it. That is absolutely the way to do it. Good comments. Got some breaking news here from Kit Uncover, coming from France. French far-right leader Marine Le Pen's graft conviction appeal trial will start in January 13th, 2026. Good, and I hope that um, if the appeal is not successful, I do hope that the full weight of the sentence imposed is in fact delivered, because that of which she was found guilty um, is a non-starter in a democratic society. All right, kids and cubs. The big news, other big news, of course, is that on Friday, the Prime Minister of Canada, after weeks upon weeks upon weeks of Pierre Poilièvre rushing to every camera and microphone that he can bring himself to disparage the Prime Minister, the work that he has done to date, and all his accomplishments. Um, and I have to say that what Pierre Poilievre is doing here is particularly gross. We will say, I mean, he has done things like suggest that it was Mark Carney who completely destroyed the UK after Brexit, when everybody pretty much knows that he saved stuff. The party. We had Stephen Harper a while ago during the campaign claiming that between Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre, he would choose Pierre Poilievre today, even though throughout everything, if you're looking back at history, he always chose Mark Carney. He chose Mark Carney to be the central banker. And then it seems, according to what we are able to see in the media, although a lot of people deny it, that when Jim Flaherty had passed away, he was the one that was asked if he would come and be the finance minister, and Mark Carney declined because he thought that there should be more time between being the central banker and the finance minister, that should definitely not be a revolving door. And then you had during the election campaign Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives trying to pretend that Carney was stealing Flaherty's legacy for getting us out of the 2008 economic crisis, when we all remember that Jim Flaherty pretended that he didn't see the 2008 economic crisis coming, although the Conservative Party of Canada did manage to violate its own fixed election date law to provoke an early election in which it managed to get itself a majority just prior to the worst of the 2008 economic crisis hitting, because they didn't see it coming. They timed the election to come then because they didn't see it coming. We are supposed to believe. And then missed his deficit projections. Oh yeah, first of all, and then in October, when he delivered the fall economic budget, seemed to pretend that a little tax cut and kneecapping the public subsidy for political parties that existed at the time, which was brought to us by Jean Chrétien to get big money out of politics, was all that we needed to do to fix the Canadian economy. And then we realized that he had missed the projections by $35 billion, and then later on revised that to over $50 billion. Mm-hmm. But the Conservatives would pick Poilievre because they didn't pick him then to be the finance minister. In fact, it took a long time for Poilievre to join the benches as a cabinet minister. And then when he did, he didn't do much, right? When he claims he was the housing minister, he wasn't even that for even a year. So, I mean, he didn't have much time to institute much policy there. And prior to that, when he was Minister of Democratic Reform, well, or after that, I should say, when he was Minister of Democratic Reform, he tried to remove a lot of our abilities to vote, which ended up being a policy that not only sunk his government, but then was gutted by the courts, and then whatever was left of it was taken away by the government that followed. So, yeah, this is Pierre. This is the guy that's commenting on Mark Carney, saying that Mark Carney has accomplished nothing. And before Parliament's about to resume, Pierre Poilievre decided to write a letter to Mark Carney, And when he was tweeting this letter, he said, "My letter to Prime Minister Mark Carney on the return of the parliamentary lays out the Conservative to-do list. Nobody cares. Pierre. One, and then you'll see the branding here. One, fix the Liberal cost of living crisis, because he has to brand it as a Liberal cost of living crisis. It's not just a cost of living crisis. Fix the Liberal job losses crisis, fix the Liberal crime crisis, and fix the Liberal immigration crisis. Our goal, stronger take-home pay, safer streets, and secure borders in the self-reliant Canada." And then he writes this 3-page letter where uh, I'm not going to read it all, but I'll give you an idea of the tone. "Dear Prime Minister, with the fall session of Parliament upon us, I write to reaffirm the duty that the Westminster Convention places on the opposition to oppose what is wrong, to expose what is hidden, and to propose what is in the national interest. So far, you have been judged only by the lofty things you have promised to do one day, not by what you have done. When you took office, the Liberal government, for which you were a long-time advisor, had already inflated housing and food costs, given Canada the worst growth in the G7, ruined our immigration system, and unleashed crime in our communities. You promised you would change, but everything is worse. We will simply hold you to your lofty promises on these Liberal crises." And then he goes on. "You promised the fastest growing economy in the G7. You delivered the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. The guy has been Prime Minister for 4 months. He hasn't delivered anything yet. In that sense, you can't say that he has completely changed the economy in just 4. See, this is the thing with Pierre. He's saying that Mark Carney has so completely changed the economy in 4 months that everything's worse, and that he alone in 4 months delivered the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. But is also saying that Mark Carney has done nothing. You can't. You can't deal with this guy. Everything's bad faith. He's saying in one breath that Mark Carney stole all our policies, when we all know that, well, the Conservative platform in the election campaign that came out mere days before was a rehash of pretty much a lot of things that Mark Carney had said previously, and Pierre tried to take credit for. I mean, we talked about it during the entire campaign when Pierre came up with his big policy statements. Here's my 7-point plan. And so looking like 5 of these points are things that Mark Carney said, and 2 of these points are saying things that every economist in the nation has said before. None of this is an original thought that comes from you. You just took it all together, put it in a document, and said, "This is my idea." It's like none of these were his ideas. So, but he's out there claiming that Mark Carney stole 75% of his platform, but that everything is worse now, which would lead one to think, well, that doesn't say very much about your ideas, now does it, Pierre? Or the soundness of conservative policies? If Mark Carney stole all your policies and implemented them already so bad that he delivered the fastest shrinking economy in the G7, that must mean that your policies and your ideas suck. See, they never think this through. They always think of the immediate thing. "Oh, Mark Carney, everything you've done is suck. You stole all my policies." Okay, but let's unpack that and think that through. What does that mean, really? So, um, total one-trick phony. The entirety of that letter could have just been summed up if Pierre had written, "Thank you for not obstructing my bid to rejoin the House of Commons in any way. To show you my gratitude, I'm taking this moment to let you know ahead of time that henceforth I fully intend to be the world's biggest douche." Because pretty much that's what that letter said. So Pierre is all over the place claiming that Mark Carney has done nothing all this time. He made all these promises. Why hasn't he passed any laws yet? Well, because the House of Commons wasn't operating. Maybe. Number one. Why are there any shovels in the ground yet? Well, maybe because you can't just say, "I want a pipeline," and magically one appears. Maybe you actually have to, like, find proponents, and maybe you have to build the office that is going to approve it, and maybe you need to consult with 1 or 2 people beforehand. You might want to actually pick up a phone and make calls to people in other countries to see if there's a market for your product, or to lay some groundwork for that. You might have to do things that increase your nation's ability to export those things, right? So Pierre is being utterly ridiculous and not serious in any way, shape, or form. These are not serious comments from a serious person. Meanwhile, back in Canada, Mark Carney, the Prime Minister, as you know, has been indeed very busy. We've been talking about it on the show. He's been traveling all over the world. He's been using his convening power in order to move pieces on the global chessboard. He has been meeting primarily with European counterparts to sign big deals, particularly big deals. Sorry, let me to lay the groundwork for the setting of really big deals, particularly in the defense industry. Up to $1.3 trillion in defense activity is going to be taken up in Europe, and we have access uh, to be able to get a relatively decent share of that business by working closer with European communities. He's had his ministers, Minister Anand, went to talk to the ASEAN nations to see if there's anything that we can do with Asia. Our international trade minister, Mr. Sidhu, has been a lot in South America, talking to the Mercosur nations to see if there's another block that we can have there. We've had Anand and Champagne go to Mexico to lay some groundwork for a meeting there. That's going to happen between the Prime Minister and the President of Mexico. We have Scott Moe currently in Asia. Well, maybe not currently in Asia, but was planning to go there with the Prime Minister's Parliamentary Secretary, Cody Blue Eyes, to again make progress on China with regard to its tariffs on beef, pork, canola, and seafood, and perhaps other things. So there's been a lot of activity going on. We've also had the announcement of the Major Projects Office and the person who was heading it being set up in Calgary with a former executive who used to be at the head of Trans Mountain when it was making the expansion, when we finally did get a pipeline to bring oil to Tidewater. No thanks to conservatives, by the way. He's been delivering some announcements of supports for certain industries along the way, while at the same time trying, and trying here is the word, trying to negotiate with Donald Trump in any type of way on some type of deal or revised tariffs. It looks like the government of Canada is focusing primarily on trying to reduce the specific sectoral tariffs, the ones that are really hitting us hard on steel and aluminium, autos, lumber, that type of stuff. And of course, keeping in mind that there are probably going to be more coming on semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. There's also the extra ones on copper, and they were talking about some furniture at one point. So there were a lot of moving pieces here, and the conservatives keep on talking about this as every event is disassociated from everything else that's happening in reality, and it's just a standalone thing that happens in a vacuum. But of course, all of these pieces are interconnected, right? If you're going to make a deal with Europe on military that's going to have them use more of our steel and aluminium and maybe even our critical minerals, well, then we need to be able to get those things over there when they manufacture over there. And if we are going to manufacture over here, then we need to retool, perhaps even build some new capacity. Again, that takes a little time, and you have to have, again, business partners and financing around that. And, you have to take care of all the steps, right? It's like we keep on saying on our show when we're talking about international trade, right? If we had no free trade deals at this moment, and we're in the process of trying to negotiate them, Pierre would be complaining that we haven't traded a thing yet. Well, yes, because you have to establish the architecture, right? Like as we said on the show, right? International trade is not only about signing contracts, it's about a whole bunch of architecture, how you're going to do this, dispute mechanisms, all that kind of stuff. You need to have that, and then you need to have the infrastructure once those deals are signed to actually get the products to the markets that you're needing them to do. So Pierre seems to believe that you can just say major project and when it starts to happen. But of course, anybody who knows what they're talking about in this knows that there's lots of preparatory work, and everybody knows that preparatory work actually is work, with the possible exception of Pierre Poilièvre, who's, I think, knows that it is the case, just pretending that he doesn't because, well, if he had to acknowledge that he did, well, that would get in the way of the narrative. And somebody uh, had put it in a very, very good way online. And I wish I could remember off the top of my head who it was, because it was a great quote, and this person should definitely be getting the credit for it. But he mentioned specifically that the reason that Pierre talks in the way that he does is that although for all the work that Pierre is doing, trying to pretend that he is some type of policy wonk or policymaker. Pierre is not a policymaker at all. He's a storyteller. And when I heard that, a lot of things, like I knew it, but I'd never heard it said in that way so succinctly, but it's true. And Danielle Smith has the same thing, right? He tells a story, the story that he wants you to believe, that he wants you to buy into, and everything gets funneled in order to make that story. And then he says, I have the solutions, let's do this. And the solution is usually something very simple, with no nuance, usually a very blunt instrument like cut this, reject this, kill this, rather than making some, using a sledgehammer rather than a scalpel has been the expression that seems to have been coming out of late to describe him and what he's doing. But yes, he is a storyteller. He loves to tell you the story of how liberals are terrible and conservatives have all the best ideas, the simple common sense ideas that nobody can understand, why the liberals just don't understand how simple it is. Just cut taxes. Just get the projects built. Okay, but how? Which ones? Right? Um, so yeah. And then, of course, the ultimate part of all of this was Pierre making a joke, allegedly, that essentially Prime Minister Mark Carney is the George Costanza, for any of you who watched Seinfeld, of Canadian politics, because he can't get anything done. And it's like, and again, when I'm saying they don't think this thing through, it's like, Pierre wants us to believe that Mark Carney is George Costanza when he's the guy that has been sitting in a job for 2 decades producing literally nothing of worth to the Canadian society in that entire time, and managed to get himself fired or fanjoyed out of his own seat in Carleton to then get the entire nation to donate $2 million to him personally so he can get a mulligan in a seat, also donated to him, that is the safest one in the country so that he can go back to the job that he's been holding for 20 years, doing nothing. But Mark Carney is Costanza, not Pierre. I mean, really? Pierre Poilièvre Costanza himself. Everything that we've seen for the last 20 years, but particularly in the last 4 or 5 months, the way that he ran that election campaign, the way that he blew that lead, the way that he lost his own seat, the way that he had to steal someone else's horse so that he can come back for another ride, the way that the guy who's going to stand up to Donald Trump picked the easiest fight possible in order to then be able to say, I'm back. But the other guy's Costanza. Right? Can hear the Curb Your Enthusiasm music in the back of my head. And of course, he has all his little sycophants out there making the same claim, including the one who's like 19 years old or something like that, saying, oh my God, Pierre Poilièvre just delivered the line of the year. And it's like, dude, you weren't even alive when Seinfeld was originally being broadcast. Like, come on. Like you have an appreciation from the cultural moment in which that came from of what being Costanza is like. Dude, please, please, just somebody hand the man a sippy cup and let him go back to doing whatever he was doing before he pretended he was this big player. So, all of these things, of course, are unserious. And in this big battle of tone and countertone that we keep on talking to you about here, which is what Canadians are probably noticing here, Prime Minister Mark Carney is definitely winning because Pierre is just flailing from slogan to slogan, clever little quip to clever little quip. But he has nothing to offer. He has nothing to offer. Like we mentioned on Friday, he's talking about youth unemployment. And this is unfortunately some very rich terrain that he can exploit and can probably get a lot out of by lying and deceiving people. But again, Pierre, when he was in charge of the program that had the temporary for foreign workers program, he expanded it to all these sectors that he's now claiming youth can't get jobs. He's claiming that he has the solution for youth, and even though we talked about how the unemployment numbers are hitting youth more severely, if we're looking at youth, let's say 15 to 20, 15 to 24. But if we're looking at youth 15 to 19 in particular, they're the ones that had the greatest difficulty finding a job this summer. And now that we're back to school, Pierre is claiming that he has the solution for them, but he didn't run on it, didn't campaign on it, and didn't ask for it to be implemented during the summer when those kids who are now back in high school could have actually used the jobs. But he's got the solution. So while Pierre is over there being unserious, Prime Minister Carney is actually building on all the work that he has been doing over the past few months that Pierre does not acknowledge has happened. But he has been building on it. And on Friday came out with an incredibly substantive announcement in which he laid out, I think it is about an 8-point plan. I think there's a lot of different levers that he pulled all together to form a reset, for all intents and purposes, of Canadian industrial policy. And this is a massive reset. It's a reimagining all the things that he mentioned in his campaign about, being able, us being our biggest customer, us giving ourselves more than anybody else can take away, us setting ourselves up to be an economic, an energy superpower, being the strongest economy in the G7, being able to diversify our markets, being able to diversify the products that we offer to those markets as well. About his favorite word, catalyzing investment dollars by using public dollars very wisely and strategically. All of these elements, the green element, the economic potential of being green, but not being green just for the sake of being virtuous, but actually embedding it in our core industrial policy. All of these elements that he's been talking about have all come together in this policy. And while, if you were paying attention and know a little bit about economics and this type of stuff, you can hear him making different announcements and you can see the links between them in this unveiling of policy. The links couldn't be any more clear. They could not be any more clear. And they are very obvious. And you can see, oh, okay, this is why you put that chess piece there on the chessboard back in May or in June, so that you can move it here now. Oh, very clever. You're a clever bear. So, yeah, I watched the announcement. The announcement, from what I've been able to gather from my perusing of different media content since, has been very, very, very well received by absolutely everybody, except, of course, Pierre Poilièvre, who called it something like all show business and no something other business. Can't even remember off the top of my head. Like I said, it's just so inane what it is that he has to say that I'm at the point where I'm at overload and I can't even retain them anymore. Because I hear them and it just provokes an instant eye roll on my part, because it contributes absolutely nothing of value in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't advance anything. It's not helpful. It's not positive. It's always negative. Right? So, to mix along, he came out the previous day and said it was the summer of George for Prime Minister Mark Carney. And then, after he makes the big announcement, yeah, there's nothing there. That's all smoke and mirrors, all illusion. No, there's no substance there. Nope. He's still doing nothing. When things start actually happening, these comments from Pierre are going to age very poorly. They're already aging poorly. They rot. They smell like rotten milk as soon as they come out of his mouth. And then give them time, and they just smell worse. But let's go, in this case, instead, to the horse's mouth, so to speak, to find out a little bit more about what this policy is. Now, he made this announcement. He had Minister Joly by his side, and she had introduced him here. And he decided to show up, I think it is at a Mitsubishi plant in the Mississauga area, if I'm not mistaken, to deliver this news. And again, there's a lot in here, but you will see every single element has been very well thought out, very strategic, very precise, and when you put them all together, it makes a very, very good core plan. So we're going to start here at his event, where he is, of course, as you do, lay the groundwork at the beginning. And in this first segment, he is telling us, in his estimation, how it is the world is changing, and changing rather rapidly, and to lay out what the challenge ahead for us would be. So here you go, kits and cuts.
The world is changing rapidly. The largest economy, the United States, is fundamentally reshaping all of its trading relationships. And we're moving from an age that lasted decades, an age when free trade was a motor of global economic growth, to a new age, an age of economic nationalism and mercantilism. You know, the U.S. tariff rate is now the highest it has been since the Great Depression in the 1930s. And these tariffs are being applied to all countries on nearly all goods. And the changes in U.S. policy go beyond tariffs. Countries now must, in effect, buy access to the world's largest economy through investments, through unilateral trade liberalization, and policy changes in their home markets. And all the while, the transformation of global trade is occurring against a backdrop of wider economic disruptions, of geopolitical realignment, of AI and other technological transformations, and the necessity, the imperative of a shift to a greener economy. What's going on is not a transition, it's a rupture, and its effect will be profound. Workers displaced from their jobs, supply chains that have existed for decades disrupted, companies forced to change where they find their materials and their products. And all of this is causing an extreme uncertainty that's holding back massive amounts of investment and, as a consequence, slowing economic growth. Just this morning, we see the impact in today's employment report in Canada, with unemployment rising across regions and sectors. This makes decisive action crucial. To be clear, we're in a position right now where Canada currently has the best trading deal with the United States of any of their trading partners. 85% of our trade with the U.S. is now tariff-free. We have the lowest tariff rate of any country in the world. But we also know that given all those changes, given the rupture, we can't rely on our most important trading partner as we once did.
So there you go, kids and cubs, laying out the groundwork and making it very clear that not only is this not just business as usual or a little speed bump or something of the sort, but an actual rupture that is not being provoked by us. It's being provoked by our neighbor to the south, who has definitely decided that they no longer want to be a reliable partner, not only just for us, but for the entire world. And therefore, right, with grounds that are shifting so quickly, we need to move because it creates a situation where there are vulnerabilities. And in this section here, kids and cubs, the Prime Minister speaks a little bit more of the vulnerabilities that he is acknowledging here exist.
So our relationship with the United States, so essential for so many industries, was once one of our greatest strengths, and in many cases, in certain sectors, has become a vulnerability. This disruption calls for a bold new approach. And given, as Minister Joly said, given that we can't control what other nations do, Canada's government is focused on what we can control. And that means building our strength at home, building Canada strong.
Joly was very enthusiastic.
That means giving our workers and our companies the tools they need, retraining our workers, transforming our strategic sectors, creating entirely new industries, and being our own best customer by buying Canadian. And to these ends, our new government is embarking on an ambitious plan to secure a new era of prosperity out of this age of adversity. Our new industrial strategy will help transform our economy from being overly reliant on the United States to one that is more resilient to global shocks. A new economy that's built on the solid foundation of Canadian industries, Canadian workers, and it's bolstered by diverse international trading partners. To drive this transformation, we've just launched the Major Projects Office. Its job is to fast-track major nation-building projects. Shortly, we will launch Build Canada Homes, just later this month. And that's a new government entity that will help double the pace of housing construction over the next decade, while creating a new housing industry using Canadian technology, Canadian workers, and Canadian lumber. This fall, we will unveil a new defense industrial strategy so that our defense estimates, which will be enormous, our defense investments support the growth of Canadian industries and create Canadian jobs and careers. We'll begin this month our negotiations of a new defense and security partnership with the European Union. And we launched a new trade diversification strategy to develop new export markets. We will soon also release our climate competitiveness strategy to position Canada as a leader in decarbonization. As Canada's new government embarks on these missions, we will work to ensure Canadian businesses and workers have the tools that they need to help drive this transformation.
All right, kids and cubs. So in there, that section here, I joined two sections together. You saw that the Prime Minister talked about the vulnerabilities, and I was going to stop there, but the next part led into how we're going to respond to those vulnerabilities. So I decided to give it to you all in one chunk so you can see. So he lays out the original situation with regard to the United States, that there's a rupture, they're no longer a reliable partner, and they are seeking to reorganize global trade in a different way. Some people described it as Trump believing that the United States is the world's hottest nightclub, and everybody wants to come. So he is now instituting a cover charge. You want to come here and you want to be seen, and you want to see and be seen with all the hottest people. Well, it's going to cost you to get in. If you want to be on the list, right? And while trade with the United States is inevitable, and and we do need to do it, of us around the world are not too keen on this idea. All of a sudden, we need to pay an entry fee in order to just be able to do business with you. Particularly, yes, you are the world's largest economy, but you are a market of about 360 million people, and there are 8 billion people across the world. So there are more people around the world to do business with you than just you, even though you do have the single most important market in terms of economic activity and power and all that type of stuff. But we do have options. And you might want to go to that hip club once to sort of check it out and say you've been there. But maybe when you go to the club, you prefer to spend the $50 in your pocket on actual beer while you're there. Or maybe cat fare to get back home rather than walking. Right? So you have better uses, or you have a way to spend that $50 that will bring you much more joy than just standing in line for a couple of hours until you can actually get in the club. Right? So in that second part, when Pierre says, he's done nothing, he's listing a lot of things that he's done, right? There's that defense partnership with the United States, and then there's comprehensive partner on defense supplying stuff, and then there's a comprehensive partnership on actual defense and security with Europe. There is an environmental industrialization sort of plan, or how is he calling it? Comprehensive climate policy in there. That's going to be affected. Of course, we've had all the consultations with Indigenous Canadians as well, which was a step that he probably needed to add, because that should have been done earlier and was a little bit of damage control, as we mentioned, but that's going on too. And again, all of this is part and parcel of this. So he's telling us about the vulnerabilities, but he's also telling us about the new economy as he sees it, and what Canada is trying to do strategically, where it is that we are trying to place ourselves in this newer economy, and give some broad outlines here. Again, also with, like I said, the National Projects Office and the Build Canada Homes Office, and gives a timeline that's going to be around by the end of this month. So for Pierre, who's been spending the last 4 or 5 months saying Mark Carney has done nothing, well, we're going to be seeing a whole lot of that nothing come into existence. And then I don't know what Pierre's going to say. And then he's probably going to talk about the projects office. So, well, yeah, okay, like he's mentioned already, he's created another bureaucracy, but nothing's been approved yet. and then something will be approved. And they go, well, there are no shovels in the ground yet, and then we'll have shovels in the ground, but nothing's completed yet, and then something will be complete, but it's not making money yet, right? That's what Pierre does, right? He did that with the dental plan. We had all the agreements, but name one person who's gotten a tooth fixed as a result of that. Yeah, well, that's because the program has a start date of June 1st, and we are May 22nd, dude. Wait 10 days and you will have the first person that got there, right? His comments are always geared to the nanosecond. But without any consideration for the fact that something's coming, will be in place, groundwork needs to be done, groundwork has done, we are now moving to another stage. We are, right, it's just, where are we right now in this specific moment in time, detached from anything else? And let's comment on that, which, again, is all you need to know, that this is not a serious person making serious commentary, and definitely has no plan, right? This is strict opposition for the point of being a prick. Everything he's done is terrible. He's got nothing done. He's lazy. It's the summer of George. Wow, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on that we can all see. Right? Well, but nothing's come of it yet. It's like, well, yeah, because there's certain things only time can do, buddy. It's like, geez, man. So we've got all of those things, and then he starts to specifically get in to some of the new measures that he has in mind, and that he has been working on and pursuing, in order to bring us through this rupture. Again, not just a transition, right? It's not a little bit of tinkering on the edges in order to prove that. Like, this is like a wholesale different chessboard that we will be playing on from now on, because Donald Trump. All this is happening because one man, well, one man with a lot of who's getting a lot of help, a lot of assistance in making this happen. But yeah, one man. So let's go into the elements of this new economy, how it is that we are repositioning ourselves, and see what it is that we are going to be hearing a lot more about over the next coming weeks and months.
So today, to fortify our economic strength, my colleagues and I are announcing a series of ambitious new measures to protect, build, and transform our strategic industries. These are the sectors where workers and businesses have been impacted by those tariffs and trade disruptions. And we're building on our recent initiatives to help transform Canada's steel and lumber sectors. The measures today will help workers acquire the skills and businesses to retool their production, businesses to diversify their products and markets, and, crucially, spurring more demand right here at home for Canadian businesses. The first and foremost, the foundation, is Canadian workers. And we're going to support Canadian workers so they can drive Canada's economic transformation with new skills training and help them seize the exciting, high-paying careers that transformation will create. To build a strong, confidence workforce that will help propel our economy forward, the government is introducing a new, robust reskilling package to train 50,000 workers. This package will include new methods such as employer-based training and targeted outreach to workers. We will automatically enroll new employment insurance claimants to our new jobs matching program and introduce a new platform with a skills-to-job tool to make job searches easier and match people more quickly to new jobs, connect them to training opportunities and career counseling. We'll leverage digital technologies and artificial intelligence to help working Canadians find training courses, supported by partnerships with companies such as Indeed, Jubilico, Career Beacon, ZipRecruiter, and eCampus Ontario. We'll also launch new sector alliances across industries, unions, and governments to coordinate recruiting and retraining efforts. And finally, will adapt employment insurance to provide a bridge to laid-off workers, giving them the time they will need to pivot. This will include providing long-tenured workers with up to 65 weeks of benefits. That's 20 more weeks than they have access to today. And will waive the one-week waiting period for over 700,000 claimants.
All right, so we get to the first of the multiple planks in that policy platform, having to do with reskilling and retraining of workers, and helping them a little bit financially in that time. So again, reskilling for up to $50,000, 50,000 workers, a jobs matching program, new training programs, and of course changes to the EI system that would allow people to collect EI for 65 weeks rather than 45 weeks maximum, and again the elimination of the waiting period for that. So a lot of elements in that particular plan. Again, unfortunately, not this particular plan is similar to many of the other plans that he's announced sectorally. Still does not contain much, unless you're counting the EI, in terms of direct financial supports for workers. EI does give you some, but there's a maximum, right? So there isn't a CERB-like type program yet to ensure that there is a, let's say, $2,000 a month basic income for those who have been affected adversely by this. I'm not sure what the monthly EI maximum is currently, but except when you're looking at the job numbers, our unemployment rate is now at 7.1%, and you've got cities like Windsor, for example, where it's well over 10%, maybe close to 11 in the 11s or something at this moment. There are particular additional supports that would be required rather than being able to stay on EI a little longer. Now, being able to stay on EI a little longer is, however, if I'm being fair, an additional financial support for workers. I can't deny that. And it's 20 weeks, and that is not negligible as well. But 20 weeks is easily, maybe 4 months, I'm guessing. My math is pretty bad. We're close to between 4 to 5 months, so that is extra time to be able to find work, but in a job market that is shrinking and in which people, corporations are afraid to make big investments because there's just no stability and certainty. That may not be enough. Now, again, nothing stops the Prime Minister from coming in, layering onto this and adding to it in the future if this is deemed to be insufficient. But based on the way people were campaigning, it seemed to be I was expecting a bigger announcement in terms of citizens. If you are affected, here is what we are going to do for you as a human being, as a citizen, as a worker, and not in terms of packaging and branding and whatnot. It's something that speaks to me and just me at home, rather than this overall thing. I'm still not seeing that component yet because in the days of COVID, if you remember, and this might just be a style difference, but when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was coming to the camera, this was sort of like we will have your back. Because I get the clear sense from Prime Minister Mark Carney, industry, we have you, we got you, we won't let you falter. I'm not getting the same sense of, hey, you Canadian citizen, because we have your back too, specifically. I don't get that similar vibe now. Again, this might be a difference in style because Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was much heavier on the EQ, right? This guy's way heavier, Mark Carney, on the business and finance IQ side of it. And so therefore it could just be how things filter out from different perspectives, and the intention could be there on the EQ side, but it's not translating communication-wise. A lot of this is, again, very bankerish, very business-based, very reskilling programs and job matching and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but will I be able to eat? Will I be able to pay my mortgage? Will I be able to make rent? Because there's nothing that's framed in that sense. Do not worry about this. Don't stress yourself about this. We've got you. I would like to see a little bit more of that messaging and what he has to say when he's talking about things for workers. But overall, this is good. I'm not saying this is good. I'm not saying this is bad. This is good. What's within the land. I would just like more in terms of the average person knowing that they will be kept whole and be safe, which would make it harder for Pierre to do what he is doing. Yes, but the elements here are solid. All right, then he gets to the next element in his plan, and rather than telling you what it is before he says it here on the video and me scooping him, I'm just going to allow you to enjoy.
The second major initiative that we're announcing today is a new $5 billion strategic response fund to help Canadian businesses adapt, diversify, and build that new economy. This fund has three core objectives. First, to help businesses pivot to new products and markets. Secondly, to retrain and retain skills and production here in Canada. And thirdly, to make our businesses globally competitive. So businesses can use these funds to invest in the design of new products, to retool their plants to boost productivity, or to offset the costs of accessing new markets. And the fund will be open to all sectors, given the fact that the tariff impacts are wide-ranging across Canadian industries.
All right, so we have the second element of the plan here that has to do with a strategic defense fund here. At least I hope that's what he said. I was putting comments up and making sure I had the time there to be able to stop the video at the right time. But the second element of the plan laid out there, and of course that helps build on some of the things that we have been working for, that he had been working for earlier. With regard to Europe and even possibly some Asian nations, right? We have been talking to South Korea potentially about submarines and stuff as well. So, but primarily our agreement here on this element here is with Europe. All right. He then goes on to the next part of his plan, the next element, and just going to advance the thing over here so to bring you to the proper timestamp for it. And on this one here, I believe that he is going to be talking about the comprehensive policy as it pertains to what we are doing on climate, because I've been noticing that in the news that I've been perusing, a lot of people are starting to ask, well, yeah, but what about the climate? What about the climate? He wrote that book, Values. What about that? He seems to have put that aside. And it's not that he's put it aside, but he is framing it in a different way. And this might be a way that could appeal to certain people who are more conservative, more of the conservative mindset. Don't speak to them about values and nobility and whatnot. Speak to them about cold hard cash and dollars and economic data and that type of stuff. So this would be a reframing of the climate fight a little bit in those terms. So not abandoned, but reformulated and possibly repackaged in order to get greater buy-in. from those who have been a little more resistant up until now.
The third major thing we're announcing today is a comprehensive Buy Canadian policy. We are on a mission to build Canada strong through major infrastructure projects, through that modern defense industry, and by building millions of more homes. In that mission, the public sector can serve as an anchor customer for Canadian businesses. But for that to happen, a lot of things must change. At present, Canada's public procurement is following outdated rules of that old free trade order that no longer exists. For years, we've been buying as a government significantly from foreign suppliers for short-term gain. Now we need to use government procurement using Canadian taxpayer dollars to spur Canadian businesses for longer-term prosperity. To support Canadian industries, the government's introducing a new comprehensive Buy Canadian policy that will move from best efforts to buy Canadian to a clear obligation to do so. And when Canadian suppliers are truly unavailable, will require local consent and purchases from trusted partners. And these cases will be the exception, not the norm. They'll have to be approved by ministers. We'll apply this approach beyond a narrow definition of the federal government to all federal agencies and all federal crown corporations, leveraging every dollar the federal government spends and invests. And finally, we're going to cut out red tape and simplify access for businesses to those federal procurement opportunities. This is an approach that can also help serve as a roadmap that could be adopted by provinces, territories, and municipalities. Le Canada est une fière défense.
All right, there you go, kids and cubs, with that one. Sorry, I made a mistake on that one because I misread my own handwriting. This was about the Buy Canadian element of the policy plank, not the comprehensive climate industrial element of the package, which what I said about that still is true. It's just that this section was not about that. This was about, of course, as he had mentioned, us previously becoming our best customer, and in this case, changing the rules and requirements, because before we used to ask federal government to make their best effort to use Canadian. Now it is mandatory, and while he can do this for the federal level, he can't impose it on the provinces when they do that. But by formulating the way that he has, by saying it's a template that can be lifted and adapted by the provinces, if the provinces would like to join the fight and do the same thing, because the provinces and territories also do procurement, and it would be very nice if they too made it such that they required those evaluating proposals to make sure they are buying Canadian first. I'm not sure how much assistance he is going to get on that from Daniel Smith, but there are going to be many provinces that will follow suit on this front, hopefully. Of course, this is going to create one hell of an opening for Pierre once again with British Columbia and the ferries. Why are we doing this in Canada? So just get ready for that, because as soon as there's these are overall principles, it doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to be able to achieve this 100% of the time, right? Sometimes there are circumstances, or there's a product that just basically comes from only one or two nations, and you have to deal with that, or you have some pre-standing contractual obligations and things like that that you need to follow through on. So you're going to see a lot of, for example, every time we buy something defense from the United States, somebody going, we're going to go those elbows down again. I thought we weren't doing business with the United States anymore. It's like, no, nobody said we were not doing the business with the United States anymore. We're just trying to do business with ourselves first and increase the amount of business we are doing with other people in the same thing. So again, everybody, all the crowd that likes to look at each individual announcement alone and disassociate it from everything will take every opportunity that to say, "Oh, look at us! I thought we weren't. I thought we were elbows up. Oh, look at us putting them down again." So in this instance here, federal government mandatory to buy Canadian wherever you can. I don't know if there's an extra layer in that that says then mandatory to buy as much outside of the United States as you can, and only from the United States when there really is no other choice. If that is there, that's probably something I wouldn't say out loud. However, given the orange shit stain south of us likes to get upset with a lot of things. If that is if the full policy is buy from Canada first, then anywhere except the United States second, and only from the United States if you can. Yeah, that part I would keep a little more quiet, so not as to provoke the other guy. But I would definitely let everybody know on the inside that that's what we're doing. But at least the bigger one, buy Canadian first. Nobody can really object. I mean, Shitstain could object to this, of course, if he wanted to, just like Ambassador Fuckrace was. Well, if you don't want to sell our beer and wine, that's fine. Clearly, with him not being fine about it, that's your choice. Clearly, you would like it not to be. So we might get a little bit of that, but I mean, there's only so far you can go on that. How dare you buy from yourselves first? It's not going to fly. Right, as an element of rhetoric that will be particularly convincing to anyone. So in this particular instance, like I said, hopefully it goes a little broader if we want to have a fuller impact than the United States. But yes, first making it mandatory to try and do business and supply yourself from what it is that we can produce and supply ourselves would be a pretty smart way to go. So that is part of the plan as well. The next one, part of the plan, has to do with liquidity and ensuring that it will be there. So, and this one, I'm pretty sure I got right because liquidity is hard to misread when you're reading your own handwriting. All right, let's see what the Prime Minister has to say about it. Oops. I don't know what happened to my timestamp here, but it seems that we are in French and that I have misnoted the timestamp. So what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to let it play in French and I will do a translation and then we will get to the liquidity portion. And I am so sorry for this, kids and guys.
Nous les respecterons et continuerons de les renforcer avec des partenaires fiables. En parallèle, nous devons mettre davantage à profit nos propres ressources.
So basically, unfortunately, he's talking, he had a referential les in there that I do not know specifically what it refers to. So unfortunately, I can't tell you what he's speaking about at this particular moment, but I will let him go on and hopefully I will catch the drift along the way.
Dans l'Union européenne, les 3/4 de l'acier qu'on utilise sont produits sur place.
So he's mentioning when you're talking about the European Union, 3/4 of the steel that they produce is used on site within Europe in order to be able to supply their own manufacturing, and that is something that we should do as well, because as he's going to say later on here, when it comes to us in Canada, greater than 90% of the steel that we produce up here is exported to other markets, and then we buy them as finished products.
Le Canada, en revanche, exporte souvent près de 60% de ses matières premières et importe ensuite les produits finis.
Sorry, I made a mistake. Sorry, it was over 60%, not 9, greater than 60%, not 90%.
With these changes in procurement, We will build more with Canadian steel, Canadian lumber, Canadian technology, Canadian workers. We will build big, build bold, build Canadian. Now, I said a moment ago when I started that this is a rupture. It's a big change that's been forced on us in a short period of time. So we need to provide immediate liquidity relief to businesses. There's immense change in a short period of time, and businesses that have relied most heavily on the trade with the United States, such as the auto sector, will need temporary immediate relief from liquidity pressures. Businesses need time to reposition themselves for the future. And for small and medium-sized businesses, the Business Development Bank of Canada will increase loans, the maximum loan size to help with this, from $2 to $5 million. For largest businesses and larger businesses, the Large Enterprise Tariff Loan Facility will provide flexible financing at scale with lower interest rates and longer maturities. We're going to implement these changes immediately to ensure that our businesses can bridge the gap to the future. And it's not all about money. Some of it is about regulation. So to add flexibility to the automotive sector, we will remove the 2026 electric vehicle availability standard, which specifies the share of new vehicle sales that must be electric next year. This will provide immediate financial relief to automakers at a time of increased pressure on their competitiveness. And the government will begin immediately a 60-day review of the EV standard to identify future flexibilities and ways to reduce costs. And we'll advance new options to bring more and more affordable electric vehicles to Canadians.
All right, kids and cubs. So I played 2 points there for you. The first one with liquidity, of course, making an extra $5 billion available to help industry get through this time of rupture. And then, of course, one of the things that a lot of conservatives have been calling for, and of course, as well, industry, the review, well, dealing in some ways with the EV mandate. Now, here we have to be very precise because Pierre has been calling for it to be completely scrapped, and that is something I personally said on the show was a dumb thing to do, because global trade and carbon adjustment mechanisms, particularly from the European nations, if we were to build smaller cars, that would be attractive for the European market to sell there and that type of stuff. Or if we started building cars that would be sold in Europe, here in Canada as well. So we need to do that. Plus, I mean, it's just the way of the future, right? We need to stop doing things that are killing us. So we do need to go there. But again, with regard to Pierre, who always wants the sledgehammer, right? Just kill it all versus the scalpel. And this is what I said, there's nothing about this policy that can't be altered or have dates changed, targets changed, a couple of years added to it to go down the line to reflect current reality as it develops, rather than just scrapping it. And it seems here that this might be the path that Prime Minister Carney has gone down. According to Ari Rabinovich of Global News, Canada's electrical vehicle strategy may be shifting gears, with certain requirements imposed on businesses being delayed, not eliminated, delayed, as Ottawa considers a new approach. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced on Friday the federal government is delaying plans to impose minimum sales requirements on car companies for 2026 model years of electric vehicles, and a 60-day review is being launched that will reassess the current EV mandate program. Quote, to add flexibility to the automotive sector, we will remove the 2026 electric vehicle availability standard, which specifies the share of new vehicle sales that must be electric next year. This will provide immediate financial relief to automakers at a time of increased pressure on their competitiveness. And we just showed you Carney saying that. This comes as companies, especially those in the auto sector, say that they have been pressured by higher costs from tariffs in addition to requirements from the federal government to meet electric vehicle sales targets that are proving difficult in recent years. One of the reasons it's proving difficult is that there used to be a federal incentive to help Canadians buy EVs, and that has lapsed, and a new one has not been put into place. In Prime Minister Mark Carney's comments near the end of the section that we just showed, it looks like there's a possibility that some of these incentives may return as part of this 60-day review in order to increase the demand for those vehicles so that we can get to the point where we are meeting those targets that will probably be revised. Quote, automakers have paid out $12 billion US in tariff costs. The last thing we should be doing is putting further costs on Canada's manufacturing sector when we're trying to make our way through this increase in protectionism, says Brian Kingston, President and CEO of the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association. And while he does have a point, that doesn't mean you do that at the expense of making sure that you have the cars and the manufacturing ability and the processes of the future that are coming, regardless of current pressures. Quote, we're encouraged that the government has paused the mandate and that they're going to undertake a review in 60 days, and we're looking forward to working with them to getting to the right and final result on this. Industry representatives say the best way forward in such a difficult economic landscape is to make it easier for consumers, quote, to make the switch to electric through incentives and rebates rather than force companies already under cost pressures. You do both. You do both. Quote, our association members are pleased that the government has recognized that circumstances have changed considerably since the EV standards was put in place, said Dave Abrams, President and CEO of Global Automakers of Canada. Quote, I think it's a reflection of the fact that the market uptake has not been as robust for EVs as had been anticipated. Launched by former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, the Liberal Party's electric vehicle mandate aims to have every vehicle sold in Canada be 100% emission-free by the year 2035, and that should be actually aims to have every new vehicle sold in Canada be emission-free by the year 2035, because there will still be trade allowed in sales of cars that are not electric, that happen to be used, or all of that type of stuff. So not precisely worded article here. This includes specific targets companies must reach each year on the way to 2035. Earlier this year, data showed sales for electrical vehicles in Canada were on the decline. A global survey of consumers released earlier this year by Shell found that higher costs and the lack of reliable charging infrastructure were the main reasons potential EV buyers said they had not purchased one yet. I am wondering if on that list of nationally approved projects of importance would be an EV charging station, coast-to-coast EV charging station plan. Because that seems would be kind of necessary, because we need to start getting rid of this argument. Well, there's not enough charging stations and people are wondering if they can drive all the way. Then just build the charging stations and then shut them up. Let's eliminate this argument. So this is one of these groundwork pieces if we want that to be the case by 2035 or by 2037. Now, let's say if the date gets changed, that we get to 100% new vehicle sales being EV, then build the damn charging stations. Make it a project of national importance. Let's go, right? At the same time, separate data from Statistics Canada showed electric vehicle sales in Canada are on the decline. Quote, EV regulation does nothing to help Canadians make the switch to electric. Electrification is happening in the industry. That's a given. But what we need is policies to help Canadians make that switch, said Kingston. Again, not true. EV regulation does a lot to help Canadians make the switch. But yes, you do need the incentives, because not everybody is going to rush to be an early adopter. That is absolutely true. You always have to take these comments from industry with a little bit of a grain of salt, because ideally, yes, they would like it to be completely scrapped so that they have no obligations and costs whatsoever. Just make it all incentives, put it all on that side. Put it all on the demand side, nothing on the supply side. Don't ask us to do anything different. If you just increase the demand, we will make the changes. But no, you need to put pressure on both sides. Absolutely, if you want to get this done quickly and efficiently. Quote, We have a massive shortfall of public charging infrastructure, and it is growing every single year, and we need to get on top of that to give people the confidence to switch. And we used to have a suite of incentives across Canada to help Canadians with that purchase. Those all disappeared over the last year. Zero-emission vehicle sales hit nearly 17% of all vehicles sold in 2024, according to Electric Autonomy. And with government incentives at the time, the forecast for that figure was to nearly double to 30% by 2027. In January 2025, federal incentives were paused as funding had run out before the March deadline. So here's the thing, right? They're saying that people don't want EVs. We had this plan that got us to nearly 17% of all vehicles being sold in 2024 being EVs. Projections was that this would nearly double to 30% by 2027. But federal incentives were paused because the program was so damn popular that it had run out of money before the deadline. So when industry is trying to make us believe, oh, Canadians are not buying the cars, they don't want them. They want them. But once the incentives ended, people paused their buying, assuming that there would probably be more incentives coming, maybe better incentives coming this time around. When we renovated our house, and we got the heat pump and all that kind of stuff, and we participated in those programs to get us incentives and rebates. One of the things I told my Beaver Sweetie is that, if we don't get everything done this time around that we would like to do, because we don't have the budget or whatnot, we just can't find the quotes, because we were doing that during COVID and it was hard to get people to come here and give quotes. Because there's probably going to be another fund of some kind announced for something else down the road. And sure enough, the federal one ended, and then there was an Ontario one that came in after we had done everything. And had we waited a bit, we could have taken advantage of that one, right? So, like I said, if people know or are pretty certain that there's going to be an incentive program coming, that purchase is going to be delayed, just like if people know tariffs are coming, people might make the purchase a little more quickly in order to get ahead of those rising costs. People will make adjustments based on what it is that they expect, and there's hardly anybody that doesn't expect that there will be more incentives coming down the line. So why would people buy now when there will be an incentive in a few months? Of course, sales have dropped, right? In June, Environment Minister Julie DeBruzen told reporters outside the House of Commons, quote, that there will be a consumer rebate with few other details given at the time. Quote, we saw the impact of the cost factor when the government removed its federal incentive program. The government has talked about bringing back that incentive program, but that remains to be seen whether that will actually occur, says Abrams. Quote, I think cost is the number one issue preventing people from making the purchase, followed shortly by the visibility, reliability, and speed of the charging infrastructure as well. So those two things, if we can crack those nuts, then I think we can start to see a little bit more robust adoption of electric vehicles. According to Aaron Weary of CBC News here, asking, is the zero-emission vehicle mandate dead or merely sleeping? Pierre Poilièvre decided to celebrate this as a big victory for himself, saying, today he's flip-flopped. He's finally admitted that the Conservatives were right, just like we were right on the carbon tax, Poilièvre told reporters on Parliament Hill. But the Conservative leader lamented that it was, quote, a clumsy retreat because the Prime Minister was merely promising to delay the mandate. Mark Carney can't even get his flip-flops right, Poilièvre said. Well, maybe that's because it's not a flip-flop. It's an adjustment. Reality on the ground changes, so we're going to make an adjustment. But we still have the same goal, ultimately. Right? That would be like Pierre saying, Douglas, you decided that you were going to buy a gym membership this year and get back in shape, but you never bought the gym membership. Well, that's because I had a hole in my roof and I had to direct the money there. Oh, you flip-flopped. No, I didn't flip-flop. I'm fixing the hole in my roof so I don't lose my damn house, which means I'm not going to go back to the gym this month because there's a cash issue at the moment. But once I absorb that, then I am going back to the gym in about 2 or 3 months instead of right now. And in the meantime, since I can't go to the gym, I've added going to the pool and I'm swimming laps. I've not flip-flopped. I've adjusted because there's this thing called reality. But Pierre always, again, Pierre, ever the storyteller, needs it to be a flip-flop, and then, of course, needs it to be a failure before the alleged flop part of the flip-flop is even completed. This, again, he's just not a serious person. In fact, Carney says the ZEV sales mandate will be subjected to a 60-day review, and so for now, it's not clear whether the mandate, a major policy meant to drive down greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector, is actually dead or merely sleeping. But deliberations on the mandate, Carney said, will be part of a larger review aimed at designing a new, quote, climate competitiveness strategy, upon which a lot, both politically and practically, is now riding. So when asking, can the mandate be saved, according to Aaron Wherry, there may be paths to amending the mandate without abandoning it. Quote, today's announcement of a delay in application by 1 year and a broader review of the policy can be an opportunity to better meet its most important objectives, giving consumers choice and getting EVs into the hands of those who want them, Clean Energy Canada's Joanna Kryazis said in a statement on Friday. If a lack of incentives or charging infrastructure is part of what's standing in the way of Canada keeping pace with other countries, EVs accounted for 21% of new car sales in the European Union last year, that might be all the more reason for the federal government to double down on such efforts, which is what I was just mentioning earlier. Clean Energy Canada has a number of other suggestions, giving car makers credit for either selling vehicles below $40,000 or offering zero-interest financing, adopting European safety standards to allow for the sale of a great variety of vehicles, or perhaps more controversially, lowering tariffs on Chinese-made EVs. And Daniel Smith has come out recently and said we should be doing that. The Pembina Institute similarly said the government's option includes, quote, extending credits for plug-in hybrid vehicles and charging infrastructure. Yes, because plug-in hybrid vehicles are included in that mandate. Modestly adjusting targets or reevaluating tariffs on Chinese-made EVs. In his remarks made on Friday, Carney said the government would advance new options to bring about more affordable electrical vehicles to Canadians, but he declined to speculate on whether that might include reducing tariffs on Chinese EVs. There we go on that. And now back to the announcement where he's going to be talking about the next point in his plan. And this one has to do with trade barriers being imposed by China as a result of us imposing those tariffs on EV vehicles from China. As you know, beef, pork, canola products, and seafood have been particularly targeted by the government of China in this case. So let's go see what the Prime Minister has to say on that specifically.
And fifth, we're announcing today that we're acting to protect Canada's agriculture and seafood industries. I'm going to focus on Canadian canola, which has been hit with Chinese tariffs. Also Canadian beef that's been subjected to unjustified trade action since 2021, and Canadian lobster since March of this year. To strengthen these sectors, Canada's government will introduce a new biofuel production incentive, providing more than $370 million to assist domestic producers and help them restructure their value chains. We will make targeted amendments to the clean fuel regulations to spur the development of a vibrant biofuels industry in Canada. And we'll increase the loan limits for Canadian canola producers to $500,000 and invest in agri-marketing and trade diversification measures to support our entire agriculture and seafood sectors.
There you go. Specific elements for those sectors. And again, the talks going on with the government of China at the moment to see if there's anything that we can do about those tariffs, trying to reduce them a little bit, if not eliminate them completely. But very, very specific measures there to help Canadian producers there. He then makes his next point in French, which I don't have to play the clip because that one I had already pre-translated. And this one is with regard to the tariff response. We have a lot of the announcements now have sort of been federal in nature. It seems that they are now going down a level and that they are going to have regionalized tariff responses. So he said in French, and this is my English translation of it. In March, our government announced a regional tariff response initiative for small to medium businesses affected by the American tariffs. The objective was clear: stimulate investment, get new products to market, and adopt innovative technologies. Today, we are going further. We are expanding this program by increasing its financing from $450 million to $1 billion by extending the loan repayment period up to 9 years and offering new non-refundable contributions of up to $1 million in all sectors, including agriculture and seafood, because the Canadian economy relies on small and medium enterprises, and if we want to build the economy of tomorrow, we must invest now. So again, some regional tariff responses being put in place here. And according to our friends at iPolitics, we might be hearing a little bit more of these regional responses as early as this morning, because Industry Minister Melanie Joly will have a mid-morning event in her hometown of Montreal to highlight new support measures for workers and businesses in the tariff-impacted aluminum industry throughout Quebec, which could include providing more details on how the sector will benefit from the Buy Canadian initiative unveiled by the Prime Minister last week. And that was taking place at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, so about an hour ago already. Also, Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu is dropping by the offices of the Thunder Bay Community Economic Development Commission to promote increased federal support for Canada's strategic sectors, which, given the timing of the topic, will likely also be focused on the measures announced last week. So those job retraining and reskilling things, there might be more coming out today. That was at 9 a.m. this morning Eastern Time, so it happened an hour and a half ago. And moving to the West Coast, Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson will share details of a new federal support for carbon management technologies in Burnaby, BC, which could be part of the industrial climate shift that is taking place. That's part of this core plan. And then, of course, Housing and Infrastructure Minister Gregor Robertson is joining his provincial and territorial counterparts for what his office is billing as a forum on housing in Vancouver. So again, housing, carbon management technologies, job supports in Canada, strategic sectors, and of course, regional tariff policy for the aluminum sector as it applies to the province of Quebec. So these are elements that were mentioned in this policy announcement on Friday that might be started to be acted upon as early as today. That's always a very positive outcome. So we have all of these things, and then Prime Minister Carney comes back close to the end of his press availability here, and tries to bring all these things down, boil these things down to 5 specific principles, and we're going to go through those and see what he has to say.
Measures around 5 principles. A focus on the future to ensure that workers and businesses have the tools they need to pivot to new opportunities. Secondly, we're making sure the application is widespread. The programs are broad in scope because of the scale and breadth of the disruption in trade. Third, we're making sure they're flexible so they can be adapted to changing circumstances. Fourth, making sure they're accessible, making it simple to access them, keeping red tape at a minimum. And finally, they're cooperative. Provinces and territories will have important roles to play, and this national effort requires cost sharing and collaboration across all levels of government.
So there you go. You have the 5 principles around which all of those are organized, all of these elements. And here you will notice, again, the Prime Minister calls himself very practical, very pragmatic. These principles also fall within that, right? The flexibility to be able to adapt to changing situations, for example. The Prime Minister is telling you here, like, none of this is going to be static, because we know that we're getting curveballs thrown at us left, right, and center from south of us. So we're going to often have to adapt to these things on the fly. Of course, not only adapting on the fly by what the United States is doing, but as we sign bigger and better deals and more deals with other nations, and some of that supply starts, some of our supply and production starts to be directed elsewhere, then that will require us to be nimble. Let's say we start supplying Europe, and they like it so much that they want us to up what we are putting out a little more quickly than had originally planned. Well, then we're going to have to make an adjustment to the upside in that case, right? Just like with the EV mandate here, we made an adjustment to the downside, delaying it a little bit because, well, it's going to take a little more time. Sometimes things go faster than planned as well. Sometimes people try something out and say, you know what, this has been working so well. We were going to increase this from 10,000 to 15,000, but this is going so well, let's increase it to 25,000. Let's just go forward. Let's accelerate this. Right? So sometimes you need to pause. Sometimes you have opportunities to accelerate. And sometimes one of the things that the United States probably hasn't counted on is once the source of supply that they rely upon, that they say they don't need, but that they rely upon, starts get redirected in other places. We start signing 5, 10, 15, 20, 30-year contracts to supply these things. That supply is no longer available to them, right? And what reactions will that provoke, right? There might be some anger and some opportunity to retaliate there. We might have to adjust in other ways. So given that the pressures are coming from multiple points, you do want to have some core principles by which you are organizing this type of change that are not rigid, and of course, allow you to be practical and flexible as the situation evolves. And so there, when we talk about flexibility, but we're also talking about accessibility and all these other principles that are in there. Those 5 principles are very key and important to be aware of. And we should probably remind ourselves of them frequently enough, especially when we start getting the rhetoric from the other side that says that everything's a failure. Now, since we talked about Pierre a lot, Mark Carney, Prime Minister, ends this bit. So in honor, I actually had closed the screen by accident of what it was I was looking for, but I was able to get it back really quickly. So woo, that was scary for a second. So here I'm going to say, Prime Minister Mark Carney, if you would, please bring it home. Now there's a little bit of French in this near the end. I don't think it is substantially significant, but so I'm going to play it all in one streak, and then if there's something very critical in French that you absolutely need to know, I will tell you what it is that he said rather than interrupt his flow on this one.
To conclude, we look back over our country's history. We've always turned challenges into opportunities. Canadians built the Transcontinental Railway to open new markets for wheat and timber. We retooled entire sectors of this economy in the fight during the Second World War. And then we built hundreds of thousands of new homes in record time for returning heroes and their families. We built a new seaway to unlock the potential of the Great Lakes economy. We forged new trade links for steel and lumber when old markets closed. And now, at this moment of profound change, we bear the same responsibilities, and we should have the same ambitions as those who came before us. Our ambition is to build the strongest economy in the G7 We know we need to act now, invest now, precisely when it's hard. And that's why we're charting an economic strategy to move our country forward, from reliance to resilience, from uncertainty to prosperity. En appuyant nos travailleurs, nos entreprises et nos industries, nous bâtirons un Canada fort. We will build Canada strong with your support. Thank you very much. Merci.
So basically saying there, by supporting our industry and our workers, and we will build Canada strong. Essentially, so nothing particularly substantive there, that little French bit there. But you will notice at the end, the Prime Minister goes back to history, not only for inspiration, not only to remind us that we've done these types of things before, but also to give us the confidence that we can do them because we have done these things before and have succeeded. So there's no reason to think that we would not succeed again this time. We're Canadians. That's what we do. We adapt. Look at our weather and our climate. Of course we adapt up here. It's just what we do. It's who we are. So very inspiring. Again, we have this exercise in contrast between Pierre Poilièvre and Prime Minister Mark Carney, who sits down like this, who's basically all the time is Mark Carney does this thing that lawyers do when you go into court. And the way it's been described to me is tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them. So throughout the entire campaign, he told us what it is he is going to do. He got elected. He told us, now, this thing that I told you I'm going to do, here's how we are going to get it done. Then he starts doing the things. As he is doing the things, he is telling us what he is doing. And now that we're getting to the next step, he's not only telling us what he has done, he's telling us what he is doing now. And then when he gets to the summation, again, tells us. So he has this way of repeating things, not necessarily in one speech, but if you listen to him from speech to speech to speech, it's like every speech is like the next episode, if you were thinking of this as a TV show. It's like last week on Canada rebranding, Prime Minister Mark Carney said this. On today's episode, we will have this. Like this, and then you see today's episode, and then you get to the next episode last week on, and then you get reminded, and then we've a little preview of what's happening, and then we get more details. But we have a man who, instead of coming to a mic and saying, it was the summer of George and everything's a failure, what we need to do is reshape our industry and make new alliances so that we can have powerful paychecks, bring it home. He goes, yeah, but how? What? What does that eat in winter? What does that look like? What does it, you get none of that from Pierre. Whereas you get Mark Carney coming to a microphone, say, I've been telling you that these things are coming. Well, now here they are. We've got a 5 or 6 point plan. This is point 1, point 2, point 3, point 5, right? All putting in there. I should say point 4 after point 3, but I was trying to go further. I didn't want to say all 6. And then putting them together in a package for you. And then you can see the clear links between each of the things and what he said before. And when we see how that manifests itself, we'll be able to look at that 2 or 3 months down the road and say, oh yeah, that contract, that's related to that thing he said 2 months ago. So everything follows. There's and builds on everything that he said before. And it is ideologically consistent. It is structurally coherent. The delivery is the goal. There's an incredible constancy and consistency in the goals, in the methods, in the message. All of these are very, very positive. And again, when you compare and contrast to what we have with Pierre Poilièvre just jumping from subject to subject, trying to come up with something clever. Uh, the whole press conference that we had, from the thing that we remember is that Costanza line. We don't remember his plan, his policy, his counterproposal, whatnot. It's the Costanza line. That's what got the play, right? He wants to tell the story of how Canada sucks and how the Prime Minister is worse than Trudeau and how everything, again, is broken, right? That's his story. He just can't quit that narrative. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ledger, we have someone talking to us like we are adults and grown-ups and able to understand. He first assumes that we can understand, rather than treat us like we're stupid and having to really dumb it down. So, again, also with that calm delivery, that demeanor, that lets us know that he is in charge. He does see the chessboard. He sees all the pieces. He knows what he's doing, which inspires confidence and calm, as opposed to the other guy that's just running all around and flapping his arms and, making statements like his hair is on fire, right? People appreciate in a crisis, and this is a crisis, someone who is calm, who appears to have it together, right? When things are going wrong, and you got one person going, "Hi guys, this is really, really, really difficult, but if we all band together like this, I have a plan. We can go this way, and if we all help each other out, we might be able to get out of this. Some of these things might be really hard to do, but I have confidence in our ability to do it. And don't worry, I'll be with you all the way." Versus, "We're all gonna die. Ah!" I'm gonna go to the guy that is maybe giving me some hope in a calm and reasonable manner, that there is a way out of here, and that he's got a plan, and who can actually explain his plan. And it tells me, it's like, in this plan, this is your role. This is what you need to do. And if you do that and focus on that, and everybody focuses on their role and things like this, we will get out of here. I've done this before. Versus, "We're all gonna die. Ah, everybody panic. Ah." "Don't follow that guy. He's gonna lead you to your destruction." "Okay, well, where would you lead?" "I don't know. Ah." "Don't ask me. All I know is that he's bad." So that calm demeanor, that ability to explain his plan, the ability to say, "This is the direction in which we're going, and it is a very clear direction. Don't worry. I got this." Over time, because it's already been positively affecting the Liberals and negatively affecting the Conservatives when we're looking at approval ratings and trust and confidence in the Prime Minister versus the leader of the opposition. But if Pierre can't do anything other than just poo-poo on every idea and every suggestion while coming up with a smarmy and smug line, that is going to be the thing that most of us remember from the time he talks, other than the way he made us feel when he was talking. I'm not sure what hope Pierre has for a successful second, well, not second act, but continuation of his first act, because there is no second act with him. Let's be honest here. So at the moment, listen, I don't have a PhD in business, but I don't need one to get the sense that Mark Carney is a person who actually does know what he's talking about and actually does have a plan and is moving pieces together and in order to make that happen. Because I just don't get the sense from Pierre that if we were in this if we were in the same situation with him as Prime Minister, that he would be able to speak to us in the manner that Mark Carney is. I'm not sure that he would have the content. I'm not sure he would have the substance. I'm not sure that he has the personality. I'm not sure that he has the gravitas. I know for a fact that he does not have the career or educational experience to be able to have a solid theoretical foundation in what is needed. I'm not even particularly sure that he has that many skills in strategic planning, and given that he is anti-charisma and has all the charm of a dehydrated cactus. I'm not not sure how well he would be doing at helping us to diversify our markets in any way, shape, or form. Uh, because I'm not sure that anybody on the global scene would actually respect him enough to say, yeah, we want to get in bed with you. Yeah, that $1.3 trillion in defense procurement, Prime Minister Poilièvre. Yeah, we are eager to sign that deal with you. I don't get that sense that that is the reception he would get from the international community based on what he has put out there. Again, he keeps on trying to say that he wants to present the image of a government in waiting. We are still waiting for that image of a government in waiting. This is not it. What Prime Minister Mark Carney is doing, however, is inspiring confidence. It's inspiring confidence. There is method, there is rigor, there is thought, there is strategy, there is tech. The elements of a tactician are there as well. You can see it. Again, now, will the plan survive first contact? We don't know. Most plans never do. There's going to have to be some adjustment along the way. But it is a very clear path that makes a lot of sense. And if you are not consulting other politicians, but actual people who know what they're talking about, who have foundations in industry and in consumer behavior, organizational behavior, consumer psychology, just basic fundamental management and accounting, all of them who are worth their salt seem to be indicating that this is a good plan and that we are on the right path and that this is a measured, reasonable response that, yes, we do have to act quickly upon and have to be ridiculously efficient in putting in place if we want to be able to make the shift as fast as possible, because there's only so much time we are going to be able to buy, so we shouldn't be squandering whatever little time that we are able to make for ourselves arguing about things that don't matter or making Costanza jokes. We should be at the business of reorienting our economy. All the efforts, it's all hands on deck. It's an all hands on deck call for all of us to do what we need to do. We as consumers need to continue doing the boycott of the United States to keep that pressure on and to give Prime Minister Mark Carney a pretext to be talking to the United States and saying, hey guys, it's like, I would like to accommodate you, but, I've spoken to the shareholders and they're not having it at the same time as maybe allowing other nations to realize that maybe they should be doing a little more of what it is that we are doing, because we assumed that when we started with the counter tariffs that a whole bunch of other nations would do the same, and that did not happen. But it seems that other nations are now definitely on board with reorganizing and reorienting trade routes at the very least, and encouraging their own citizens to buy local, their own citizens to not travel. Some of that is starting to manifest itself in other nations of the world. So there's if that trend continues as this goes on with the United States, there are going to be more and more nations looking to us and looking to our leader for inspiration, and his convening power will only increase as that goes along. So let's hope that that is the case, because us alone applying pressure on the United States won't be enough to get the job done. But if we can get a couple more countries doing that, we know that Brazil has no time for the United States at the moment. India has started already showing signs that they're getting a little pissed off what the United States is doing to them. Europe is getting a little tired and maybe starting to get the sense that maybe they can puff their chest a little more than they have been up until now. So we'll see over time. But hopefully, as people see us doing what we are doing and having some success and not being devastated, given everything that Trump has tried to impose on us, maybe that will give other nations a little courage as well to follow a similar route. And that will only help in trying to get over this obstacle, because there is safety in numbers. And we definitely need to make sure that we have the numbers on our side. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us, because we love making this for you. And yeah, today, definitely, you know that I love making this for you, because I tried for an hour and 40 minutes to be able to even just start this show in order to be able to get it to you. But determined I was, and hopefully this MacGyvering was successful, and hopefully whatever it is that has gone awry with our computer and microphone will fix itself in the manner that it unfixed itself magically somehow, and that tomorrow's show I will be able to deliver in the regular way. And if not, well, then at least I know what the alternative way is, and it won't take me an hour and 40 minutes to find it. So if there is a delay tomorrow, it will be significantly shorter. I promise you, kids and cubs. But oh, thank you so much, especially those watching live, for your time and your patience, and for sticking it out. Very, very grateful for you, DAMFAM. Your kindness and encouragement, as you have seen me with my face in my hands upon learning for the second or third time that there was still no audio, um, helped keep my mood bright and sunshiny to deliver the episode, rather than just coming in with a lot of heat and fire and aggression that would definitely change the tone of the show when I start the show and say, well, good morning and hello, kids. A lot of people have made the comment that they like my voice and that it's soothing, and I'm sure that most people would prefer being greeted with, well, good morning and hello, kids, rather than, well, good morning and hello, kids. Because that's what I was feeling on the inside. So thank you for your very, very appreciated assist in keeping me together. I am grateful for you. Kids and cubs, as I said, we love making this for you. Sharing is caring. So please share our content with your circle of friends and acquaintances, because you are influencers in your own communities. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like us to help you, now this might be a little tricky, but I'll see if I can do it from the computer rather than the telephone, which would make it much easier. If you would like us to help you because you are a kid on the go and you still want to be engaged, but sometimes you just have too much on your plate on a given day and you cannot watch our show, well, you don't have to worry about that, because thanks to the generous contribution of the Ray Girl, she has sponsored our pod page. If you scan the QR code that has just appeared, that will bring you right there. And if you are listening and not yet subscribed, that's podpage.com/the-true-northeagerbeaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and you click on subscribe, when we have something fresh off the audiocast bandwidth, it goes directly into your favorite podcast feed. We are lightweight and portable. Put us in your ears, take us with you, and that way you can take on the day and still get your daily dose of beaver information. It's a win-win. There you go. Thank you, Ray Girl, for sponsoring us in that manner. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like to help us, please grab your surfboards and hang 10 to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where we have 3 buttons for you: like, share, and subscribe. Please give them a little tickle. We really appreciate it when you do. We now have 21,900 subscribers and still growing, so please add to that number. I would like to see it switch over to 22,000 as soon as possible, and that's only with your support that can happen. And yeah, and just it makes us happy when we see the numbers go up, but mainly it helps us with the algorithm, and that's what we appreciate as well. So thank you for that. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like to help us in other ways by helping us with the costs that we incur to bring this show to you, we would be very grateful if you do that by making a contribution to the Eager Beaver Emergency Hydration Fund. And you can find that at our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And if you drop a toonie or two into the hydration fund, you will be doing your bit to make sure that you keep your favorite beaver moist. Kids and cubs, because a moist beaver is a happy beaver. And since this beaver has been a little irritated this morning, a little extra moisture in my cup would definitely be very welcome today in particular. So if you can, make a contribution. That would be very appreciated. And since we are talking about making contributions, well, hey, let's give a shout out and a big thank you to Kit Wendy, who sent us a direct transfer and saying, "Keep up the good work and the noble resistance, gents," with a Canadian flag, muscle on the arm, a pride flag, and a heart. So lots of love being given to us there. Thanks for doing what you do every day for the DAMFAM and Canada. Cheers. Well, thank you so very much for that positive word, Kit Wendy, and for your enthusiastic expression of encouragement in the form of a tip. It means the world to us. Over the summer, kids and cubs, as you may know, audience goes down, even though we are presenting new content and people are busy living their lives. So tips go down a lot during the summer, which is fine, because it's the natural ebb and flow of the business. But when the fall comes back, we definitely do look forward to your support to getting ourselves back on track, and so that we end the year very well. So let's make the end of 2025 a beauty, and let's make sure that we have what we need in order to keep on bringing this show to you on, 5 days a week, right? And keeping you informed. But we are so grateful for your generous support. Now, kids and cubs, if you're not able to contribute financially, you know that we tell you not to worry about that, because the gifts of your participation and attention are the ones that matter most to us, and we love to hear from you. So please write to us at truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, which is our email address. And if, like Prime Minister Mark Carney, you are engaging in Buy Canadian, well, if you make your contribution in the same way that Kit Wendy did, by using that email address to send us a direct bank transfer, well, hey, you take care of that too. So truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is where you write to us to let us know what you think about the show, make guest suggestions, all that kind of stuff, and to send us direct support that bypasses the US CE Tech Pros. And we are grateful when you do that, because we get 100% of your contribution. There you go. So engage with us. Let us know what you think. Send us a little something. And by the way, if you happen to have a home-based business or a member of a community group, and you think that getting the word out, please contact us to let us know about your project and about your work. And we can find a way to get the word out at a cost that is very, very agreeable. And particularly if you're a community group, because I know your budgets are smaller, we have special prices for you. So please do contact us. If it's about getting butts in the seats, hey, reaching out on a show that does have a good number of subscribers and targets Canadians specifically, might just be the precise marketing that you're looking for, particularly since the members of the DAMFAM are particularly very engaged and are just eager to support fellow Canadians who are trying to make their way in the world. So please contact us. We can help, and we like to help. Okay, kids and cubs, because democracy is something that you do. If you happen to be living in Alberta, remember forever-canadian.ca. Make a plan to sign that petition. Donate if you can to help them financially with this effort, this initiative. Sign up to become a canvasser, particularly if you live in an apartment building and can go around and get the signatures of your neighbors. We need 294,000 signatures, about probably more, to stave off what Danielle would probably try to do in invalidating some of them, in order to get a question on keeping Alberta in Canada on the ballot as a citizens' initiative, and also at the same time hobbling those who are on the separatist movement by a period of 5 years by disallowing them the opportunity to present a similar question on a similar matter. So, kids and cubs, please do make the effort to do that. And also, kids and cubs, if you happen to live in Labrador and the other place, or if you happen to live in Yukon Territory, you have some provincial elections coming up in October in Newfoundland and Labrador, and of course in November in Yukon. So, please get to know your candidates, sign up. To work at a polling station or any other way that you can do so. It would be very good to have you participating in democracy. All right, words of wisdom. Oh boy, keep at it, persevere, keep your chin up, keep smiling. No matter how hard it gets, eventually it'll work out for you. Don't ask me how, I know. Oh my word. I tell you, kids and cubs. Interesting. It could be a tough world out there, kids and cubs, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, kids and cubs, on the count of three, if I may have a little bit of audience participation, not that you haven't participated enough today in making sure that we can get this going, but if I can beg your indulgence one more time, please, at the count of three, would you all say simultaneously, in as cheery a voice as you can, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I hear the cheer. I, I hear you out there, and I am glad to oblige.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
All righty, kids and cubs. A little bit of news of Canadians who make us proud. I remove my crown temporarily in order to hand it to Ottawa's Gabriella Dabrowski, my queen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Along with her partner, Aaron Routliffe, won the doubles title at the US Open. And I tell you, this is such an incredible feat because last year on New Year's Eve, she found out that she had breast cancer, and she's been competing this year, sometimes taking some time off, a couple of weeks and coming back, just fighting that, and gets to the last Grand Slam of the season after winning the title in Cincinnati a couple of weeks ago, which maybe gave us an idea that this was coming, and showed up in the final, taking on the number one team in the world right now, Katarina Siniakova from the Czech Republic, and Taylor Townsend of the United States, who's playing on home soil in front of her home crowd, and in straight sets, took the U.S. Open doubles title and a check for $1 million that they will split, and earning her second doubles, women's doubles Grand Slam title to go along with her 2 mixed doubles Grand Slam titles, so 4 in all. Her women's doubles Grand Slam title, twice with the same partner. Her 2 mixed doubles with different partners. So she's won Grand Slams with 3 different partners, showing just how versatile she is, that she can play with pretty much anyone. And when you add that to the fact that she was on the winning team of the Billie Jean King Cup, won the bronze medal at the last Olympics in mixed doubles with Felix Auger-Aliassime as her partner, and also won the WTA Tour Finals event a couple of years ago as well. We have the makings of a Tennis Hall of Fame career here for this wonderful athlete who is definitely has much more in the tank and much more to offer us. So Canadian glory after a bit of a tough season for Canada on the tennis courts this year. But Canadian glory courtesy of Gabriela Dabrowski. Again, my queen, thank you. Thank you so much for making this resident tennis fan very, 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 very happy. Also, big congratulations to Felix Auger-Aliassime, who in his semifinal playing Jannik Sinner probably played one of the best sets of tennis ever played against him this year, taking the second set from him. But again, quality prevailed, and we see where the gap is between number 1 in the world and, well, now number 13, I think, in the world is where Felix Auger-Aliassime sits in the rankings, that there is still a relatively significant gap. But when you consider that the last time that Auger-Aliassime played Sinner, he lost 6-0, 6-2, taking a full set in a Grand Slam, as well as being able to win so many more games in the others, just makes it clear that he is finally on the right path. So, and he seems to be very, very happy with the success he had this time around. So, big congratulations to Felix Auger-Aliassime here for representing us so well at the U.S. Open. We definitely had a lot to cheer for in the final days of the tournament, with both Dabrowski and Auger-Aliassime in the mix. So just delightful. It's really, really great to have them. And I wish I had an image here about Gabriela Dabrowski on to show you. And I thought I had posted it, but maybe I haven't. So, but I will find that for you. Also, kits and cubs, for those of you who like to celebrate Canadians who make us proud, we have Max Davies, who has had his Canadian record officially ratified, his 3 minutes, 33 seconds, and 86, or is that 3 hours? No, 3 minutes, 33 seconds, and 86 hundredths of a second, in August 23rd in Oslo for the 1,500 meters race. He set a new Canadian under 23 record there. So that is very, very exciting. And also, kids and cubs, Sarah Mitten, who is a track and field athlete, who had an absolutely great performance as well, where it is that she competed over the weekend. As you know, the World Track and Field Championships, or Athletics Championships, is about to start in Japan. And there's been a little bit of competition prior to that. But yes, Sarah Minton definitely had a great event in Beijing prior to it, winning the final World Athletics Continental Tour gold in a meet with 19.83 meters, just day before the Worlds in Tokyo. And this offsets a competition, because we had reported earlier that she had won another competition, but it turns out that there was a protest filed, and they had seen that she did indeed come out of the circle. I think it was at the Diamond League, and they had to strip her victory there. Because the throw was not legal. So what a wonderful bounce back from her in that particular context. So very, very happy to see that. Kits and Cubs, also in some personal news, as you may have been aware, I had an audition on Friday for a musical, Guys and Dolls, and you've sent your good vibes, and I appreciate it. And it went about as well as it could possibly go. I got about 85 to 90% of the dance right, and showed that I can learn and pick up things very quickly. The singing portion went very well. Everybody in the room seemed to be impressed and was smiling throughout the entire audition. And then, of course, we had the cold read that we needed to do, and I got through all of the cold read with a good pace and not stumbling on a single word whatsoever, like I just did now, while adding tone and inflection and expression and all that kind of stuff. So everybody in the room seemed very happy when I was done. Hopefully they weren't happy because I was done. And we will be hearing relatively soon about whether or not I've gotten anything. I've told that I should maybe know by Thursday. So please, Kits and Cubs, I ask you to keep on keeping your fingers crossed and sending the good vibes, because I would be very, 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 very happy to be able to get this role. This is the music that sings to my soul, and the type of dancing that speaks to my soul. And I would really, really, really like to be able to do that live on stage for a certain number of weeks. So there you go, Kits and Cubs. That's all I got for you today. Come back and join us tomorrow, where hopefully we will have way fewer issues. And until then, Kits and Cubs, and maybe then I will find all those images of Gabrielle Dabrowski that I know I have posted immediately after the win, but for some reason cannot seem to locate, in order to give the Queen her due. But until such time, Kits and Cubs, that's all I got for you today. Amour et bisous. And we will see you soon. And now I need to make myself disappear like magic.